Videos on Voices of the Unheard. We are To Be Streamed, a global youth media initiative, and you're keeping it ugly with me, Joe Ugly, and attorney Alex Taubes. Tonight we're going to be discussing his success of prison time reduction here in the state of Connecticut. Let the ugliness begin right about now. Oh, more of that coming our way. Yeah. And I may as well click that off, give it off here to Alex Taubes. How are you, sir?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm telling you, for those of you who don't know, let me just give you a little background on this guy. He began his career working with another law firm here on a class action lawsuit that won a settlement for more than 1,000 residents of the Church Street South, the low-income residential housing complex across from the New Haven train station. It's no longer there, of course. But anyway, I thank you so much for coming here.
Thanks
and
for having me.
Absolutely. You have a great reputation, or should I say a great, reputation works.
I'll take it.
There you go. Of what you've been doing for getting prison reduction. How many years have you taken off so far? Last time it was in the 500s, right? Correct?
So last week in Hartford Superior Court, it was an online hearing. I was in front of a judge, Judge Human, and he took 20 years off of the 60-year prison sentence that my client, Kermit Francis, was serving at that time. Mr. Francis had been incarcerated for 27 years at that point. And as a result of the 20-year reduction that the judge ordered last week on Tuesday, Mr. Francis was released from prison last Thursday.
Now, let me do some quick math. He was sentenced to 60 years.
Yeah.
He did 27.
Right.
Which means he had roughly 33 years left.
So why did he get out early?
Yeah, so there's 13 years that's not accounted for.
The answer to that lies in changes in Connecticut law. So
okay.
For anyone who is convicted of a crime that occurred before October 1st, 1994, you are able to earn up to 12 days off of your prison sentence every month for good behavior, and another day a week if you work a 7-day-a-week job. This was called good time for good behavior. Starting in 1994, that was abolished.
Oh.
So today, a person who's serving a 60-year sentence for murder is not able to earn any time off of their sentence and is required to serve 100% of that sentence. So that was a big change. And I have actually written extensively in a variety of periodicals that this rule should be brought back, because what it did was it created a powerful incentive for good behavior and really assisted the correctional staff in keeping an orderly and well-behaved prison, because you had a lot at stake. You could lose all of that time if you acted out, if you assaulted a correctional officer.
Oh.
But now you've got guys in there who've got nothing to lose.
See, no, it goes back to the big question. Is our prison system really for reforming individuals, or is it just a housing?
Right.
A money machine, a housing money machine.
Right. And so Mr. Francis had been in prison for over 27 years for a crime that occurred before October 1, 1994. So he had been earning good time off of his prison sentence for 27 years. He had earned approximately 13 years.
I know, that's a lot of time to keep,
sentence. And then we got another 20 off from the judge. And actually, the prosecutors in Hartford actually agreed to taking the 20 years off because Mr. Francis was not seeking to re-enter society here in America, but he was seeking to be deported to Jamaica.
Whoa.
And he had a case pending against him from years ago, an ICE detainer. And upon his release from prison on Thursday, ICE picked him up and took him to a detention center. And it's, now possibly there might be something to be done to keep him here, but most likely he will be deported. Almost certainly he'll be deported.
Wow. Whoa. This is a lot. So he wanted to be deported to Jamaica.
That was his request, was take the time off my sentence. I'm going to get deported.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
the judge and the prosecutor agreed.
So in 1994, he went in, and he had a mindset.
Like 93 or 94, yeah.
No, 93, 94.
Might have actually been later that he went in because I'm just doing the math of 27. Might have been 95, that was when he was convicted as opposed to when the crime occurred. You know
right,
so
right.
Let's give and take there. But yeah, so but anyways, setting aside the specifics of his case, because there is an active potential immigration case that might go on now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not involved in that, but in with those 20 years that were taken off last week, our law firm, my law firm, which was been me except for recently we hired another attorney, has now taken 575 years off of prison sentences of more than 54 men and 3 women.
All in the last, 3 years?
In the last 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
Wow.
You're taking that much time off. Now, these individuals are not saying that they're not guilty. They weren't guilty.
Some were not guilty. We're not guilty. Are not guilty. Are innocent. And that, actually, the unfortunate thing is that makes it harder.
Please explain.
Well, because for a lot of them, they are guilty, and they admit that what they did. Maybe they were really young when it happened.
Okay.
But they take full responsibility for it.
Right.
And because, you met Maddie and Mike last time I was on the show. Both of them take responsibility for their actions, and they're very apologetic and sorry for what they did. That helps because to the victim's family, to see that there's been some apology and that they've gone on to live their lives in honor of the person who was lost can be very powerful. That's what happened in Maddie's case, where the mother of the young man who was lost, actually changed her mind and ended up supporting Maddie getting out of jail.
But and I understand that, but what about the individual who actually was innocent?
That really is difficult because it depends a lot on how the victim's family and how the prosecutors respond to that. Because a lot of times the victims, they've been told things from the prosecutors and from the courts about this person is the person who's guilty, and they've been convicted, and now they're saying they didn't do it. They're not convinced. And if they're not convinced, then the court system and the parole board, they're not interested in necessarily admitting their mistake and that they've misled everyone and they've stolen someone's life away potentially because they've put someone to prison who's innocent of the crime that they've said that they committed. So it can be very awkward. It can be very hard.
It's really something. As a black man in society, one of the things that we always have to worry about is wrongfully incarcerated.
Yeah.
And, it's just this big thing hanging over, always there, always. So, you find yourself.
It's your worst nightmare.
Oh.
You'd be putting in prison for something that you didn't do anything wrong.
Right. And we hear so much of it. So, do you see yourself in the future, near, further, I don't care, actually defending, what is it, working with the Innocent Projects?
There is an Innocence Project that works in Connecticut and as well as throughout New England and the United States, and I do work with them pretty frequently. A lot of times they'll have a case where they're trying to prove someone's innocence, and then I work on the sentence reduction piece of it, where we do ask a judge or a parole board to take mercy on this person who maintains their innocence, and I help with that. I also work on my own on cases of innocence. I currently have a case pending in the Tolland Judicial District, that's Rockville, Vernon Courthouse, about a man, J.B. James Hilton, whose case out of New Haven in 2000 is a case of a wrongful conviction where the police and the prosecutors said that he walked up to the victim and shot the victim point blank. That is like contact gunshot wound with the gun to the victim's head and shot and killed them. And he's always said that he was involved in a struggle with a third person and the victim was there and the victim was shot from far away. Wow. The state's medical examiner testified at his trial in 2001 saying it was a contact gunshot wound. It was a close gunshot wound. It was touching the skin. But 20 years later, Mr. Hilton had no medical examiner of his own at his trial. It was just his word against the medical examiner of Connecticut, who, by the way, previously was a medical examiner in the Soviet Union, who came to Connecticut. 20 years later, he gets the most decorated, well-respected, highly credentialed medical examiner in the United States, Dr. Cyril Wetched,
Okay.
to look at the pictures of the victim, the autopsy report, the testimony from the trial, the arguments from the trial. He said there's no way this could have been a contact gunshot wound.
Now, would something like this require just more than one expert to come and testify, or would they be willing to at least hear one expert, especially a world-renowned?
Dr. Wedge testified in court in front of the judge. The state didn't put forward anyone to say he was wrong or to say that his testimony was incorrect or inaccurate. Dr. Wedge testified this is not complicated. It's like the stuff he would put in his textbook, which he's been writing for 50 years. And all that Mr. Hilton would have had to show at his original trial was reasonable doubt. He didn't have to prove his innocence at a trial.
Right.
But his attorney in a murder trial in the year 2001 didn't hire a medical examiner to say that the medical examiner from the state is lying, and what he's saying is not scientifically accurate. It can't be a contact gunshot wound.
Did he have a public defendant, or did he?
He had a privately retained attorney who he paid. His family paid, maybe it was like $5,000 or $10,000. He never hired any expert to fight the case. And then when Mr. Hilton had a public defender in his first habeas, like his first appeal case, he hired an expert to look at the wound. He wasn't a medical examiner.
Oh my goodness.
He wasn't qualified to say anything about it. He was like a bullet expert.
Oh.
So he had nothing to say about the important things. So
the impact of something.
Mr. Hilton never got a fair trial. And that's why we're fighting for his innocence right now. And it's pending in front of a judge. A judge could issue the ruling any day. And if she rules against us, we're going to take the appeal. But we're also at the same time asking the parole board to let him out of mercy. It's the same thing with Daryl Valentine, who we might have mentioned in the past. He had a 100-year sentence for a double murder.
Right.
He's still fighting to prove his innocence and to have his conviction overturned. But we got 57 years taken off of his sentence, and he's been released now. Now he's out of prison.
But is he's out of prison, but
he's in a halfway house.
Okay. And is that case done yet, or is it?
Well, it's really disgusting. Like, the state conducted its own investigation of Daryl's case. They went to the parking lot where the police say 2 witnesses said they saw the crime. Even though those 2 witnesses at the trial said, we never saw the crime. These police officers were giving us cocaine, alcohol, telling us what to say, telling us, turning on and turning off the tape recorder, destroying recordings. But where the police say the witnesses said they were, the state sent investigators there last year to that parking lot this year, 2022. And they made a video from the place where the police said those witnesses were, pointed at where the crime happened. There was no way you could have seen whoever did it. Definitely not Daryl Valentine.
How long ago was this incident?
1989.
Okay, so 89 to now. Now,
33 years.
Could have been like a building tore down or building or something.
It's the exact same thing. It's the Athena Diner down in Hamden, where then it became the Epic Diner. Now it's closed down. And it's just closed. But no, it's the same exact layout.
Is that the one up there
building.
by Home Depot?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Yeah, that area. I'm trying to get them.
No, the diner hasn't changed. The scene hasn't changed. Now, this was the state's own investigation. Now, the state has produced an internal report, not released to you and me. Although they showed it to me once, and now they denied that they did so. It's a report that recommends that Mr. Valentine that his conviction be overturned. But it has to go in front of a state panel. And then the state panel has to make a recommendation to the final state's attorney, Mr. Doyle, who's in charge here in New Haven on Church Street.
Okay.
The panel hasn't met since August. They received the report in August. They have not met. They are supposed to be meeting by the end of this month. I was promised, and after a long apology, that they would be meeting this month.
Meanwhile, there's someone's alive in total limbo.
He can't go to his mother's grave and mourn his mother's death, who died while he was in prison, because he needs he's under the custody of the Department of Correction at a halfway house. He wants to go to his mother's grave.
I thought
He can't do
halfway
so.
houses was when you come out and they keep you there. There was a time set on how long you stay in a halfway house.
There is a time set. He could be getting out very soon, and he could be getting out in a variety of ways, and we're working on that. But at the same time, what he also wants is for this double murder conviction to be lifted, and for him to be able to get rid of this felony criminal record, which makes it almost impossible for him to get any kind of job,
right?
And would also allow us to get some kind of compensation for what he's had to go through for the past 33 years.
Now, Connecticut do they still have where they compensate monetary compensation to?
You know, it's funny. In the last couple of years, Connecticut passed a law that actually reduced the amount of money available to people who are wrongfully convicted seeking compensation. So can you imagine that?
So,
they turn to the people who they've done wrong,
right,
and said, we're going to give you less to compensate for what we did wrong.
Now, this was a law that's passed.
They passed it 5 or 6 years ago.
Wow.
And now a lot of people who are getting exonerated now, they were convicted 20, 30 years ago.
And
they're
the
saying,
state took all this time away.
Can you go back now?
Right.
As your wrongdoing is being uncovered, and say, we're going to pay less now.
What about can you, for an attorney who have done something like this to someone, like for example that, but I guess this person
His prior attorneys, can you sue the attorneys?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can sue the attorneys if you can get the case overturned. A lot of times, if it's the public defenders, you can't sue. If it's a private attorney, you can. But sometimes, these private attorneys, there's no one to sue anymore. Like they've gone out of business, they've died, they've retired, they're hard to find. But yes, occasionally.
But if you do find,
occasionally there's some pockets there. Yeah.
No, but if you find someone, even if they retire and they moved on, I mean, I'm not asking you to go.
The big burden is to get the conviction overturned.
Right.
While you're still convicted of the crime, it really restricts what you can sue about.
Right. Okay. Let's just say you work hard and you got it overturned. You got Alex Taubes on your side, and you have done your due diligence.
Everybody. Hell yeah, you sue the state.
Right.
The state has its commission where they just reduce the amount. You're going to sue the police department if they were involved in violating.
What about the individual? Like, let's just say if it was an attorney, private attorney, but he's out of business. What about if he has some type of home or something, a retirement home somewhere? Yeah, I mean, you could lean on that.
You could go after an attorney's private personal property. You sure could.
Right.
I mean, that's what the Sandy Hook families are going to be doing.
Exactly.
Alex Jones now.
Exactly.
Garnishing everything they can.
Everything. That's the thing that I was wondering about.
But most attorneys who go after and try to get compensation, they're looking for insurance policies. So they're looking for attorneys who have insurance from the time periods involved, or government, or something like that.
There's another angle to this. Attorneys always look for where's the insurance policy, this and that, the other, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's all cute. You know what else is out here?
There's money out there.
There's a lot of other. All right, I'm gonna put this out here.
There's plenty of attorneys who go after that too.
Yeah, there's money in book deals. There's money in all types of stuff that you could back in on. I mean,
but getting back to it, most of my guys who are getting out early admit to their guilt.
Right.
They're not, and that is not a problem for me because they've served their time.
Right.
And they've changed.
And I think what we should be doing with prison, as far as goes to prison reform, we should be looking to reform individuals, not try and someone sit and say, hey, you know what? I made a mistake. I was wrong. They're not even so much I made a mistake. I was wrong. I take full responsibility for my actions. I think we should look at that individual and say, hey, you know what? If this person has been showing themselves as a model prisoner, now have you had anyone who came out and reoffend?
Yeah, there have been people who've come out of prison who are clients of mine who have been arrested for things, and I mean, I don't always know the full details of the situations or whether they're fully guilty or not, but I can assume that once you're letting people out of prison in a society that does not really do very much to help people who are having problems in general.
Right.
If you're having problems with drugs or mental health issues in general, let alone if you're someone who has a serious criminal felony record, it's very hard to get help in this country for those problems. And so that, in my view, is often the root cause of these criminal incidents. Now, have I had anybody come out and commit a murder? No. No.
Right.
Have I had anybody come out and commit a robbery or a violent crime? No.
Mm-hmm.
But have there been people who have gotten out of prison and made mistakes, and those mistakes have been serious ones? Yes. And or people have been arrested and maybe it wasn't everything that the police said as well? Yes. But that's something that I expect, and you still, I believe, need to give people a chance at freedom and a chance at reintegrating into society, because a lot of my clients have gone on to do amazing things in the time that they've been released. They haven't come anywhere close to being in violation of the law.
Well, I've met two of them the last time you were here, and they are paralegal, still your paralegals.
Both of my colleagues are still working with me, Maddie and Mike. Yes.
Now, did I hear you interjected in the beginning of this interview that you also brought on another attorney, a business partner?
Yeah, so he's not a partner. He's an associate of mine, but he's working with me now. Gabriel Lopez-Lowe, he's an attorney here working with me in New Haven. He's
also civil rights?
Listening right now, actually. Too.
Oh, okay, great. Welcome.
He comes to Connecticut and New Haven from Alabama, where he and his husband were working down there. Now they're working up here. His husband's a professor at Yale. And he is a criminal defense attorney. He was a public defender in Alabama. He was a public defender in New York. And now he's coming to work with me on getting people out of prison earlier, as well as my whole civil rights practice that I've got.
Tell me a little bit more about this civil rights thing here, because when you hear civil rights, it's so broad.
It's really just, to me, when I'm saying civil rights, because it's so specific. It means, and I won't take away from someone else's definition of it. Okay, so if you have your own definition of civil rights, I'm not saying it's wrong. I never would. But to me, it's civil rights. So rights means it's what a person or a group of people have, as they're entitled, what they're due, what they should have, what they should get.
Right.
That's their rights. And civil rights means it's against the government. So it's what the government shouldn't be allowed to do to me, or what the government ought to give to me, because that's what's right, or what government can't do. So discrimination is a classic example.
Well, that's not coming from government, right? So that comes from individual.
Civil rights, it can also mean discrimination by
individual.
Individuals, but really by employers. That's where it really comes in, on the job, like racial discrimination, sex discrimination, sexual orientation, national origin, religion on the job. That's big. In other areas of society too, but it's kind of hard. Like banks, discriminate.
Right.
But it's hard to
redlining as such.
It's hard to hold the banks accountable.
But you did.
I have some cases involving the banks.
Yeah, but you did.
Landlords, housing. That's another area of discrimination. Civil rights. Government is a big part of it, but it's not always the government. But the government has to protect the civil rights. So if a company is hiring only white people and not black people, the government has an obligation to come in and stop that. It's not just
even if it's a privately owned company.
It shouldn't just be on black citizens to sue,
and
take it to court. The government should come in and stop that. So that's civil rights, in my view.
But even if it's a privately held company, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think the government has an obligation to promote, to guarantee civil rights. So we go in and we sue where we see something has happened that's wrong, and we try to get a remedy. Usually money is the only remedy we can get.
Which is really,
it's not perfect.
No, it's not perfect, but it's so amazing.
Divide it in three and give me a third. So that's one advantage of it.
But what's really interesting is that the only way you can get some people to understand that they have done something to another is to hit them in the pocket.
Financial consequences.
It is just so amazing to me how people just can't look over and say, you know what? I'm doing this person wrong. Why? Well, why? And just stop. I mean, 3/4 of the time, I got to tell you, my people are highly forgiving.
You need to bring a claim. Look, whether it's a big thing or it's a not as big thing, you need to not be afraid to stand up and say my rights were violated.
Right.
There needs to be compensation. I'll give you an example. I had a family come to me because the police came through their door at 5 a.m, guns out, get on the floor, get on the ground. No, thank God nothing happened.
Mhm.
No one was hurt.
Right.
You know,
Because we all know how
their
that could have
door,
ended.
they could have ended like, yeah, you know what I mean? Look at Breonna Taylor. But
Right.
all that was damaged was the door.
Mm.
So it wasn't a big case. It wasn't a huge money thing, but we got him a little something for that.
What
Should get
about
something for that?
Yeah, but you see that that's the thing that there's a side to that I have to push back on. When you say it's not a big case,
It could be.
because when you think of the PTSD, and my people go through it, when you think of the PTSD that's placed upon someone, then they're in their own space, their own home, and then law enforcement kicks in the door. The stresses, just thinking that any minute this could turn into a Breonna Taylor, George Floyd incident.
You should get something for that, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, just the stresses alone. Oh my gosh.
But you also gotta 99% of the time,
Mm-hmm.
police do that kind of thing, and there's no case.
Right.
No one even brings a complaint.
But that's because people don't do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
So people gotta know, when something happens, it's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Something's got to be done to make it right. You call an attorney.
A lot of people also go through the financial side of it, where they can't retain a lawyer. They don't have enough to retain. And the average.
Well, you got to be very suspicious of the lawyer in a civil case who's asking you for a lot of money up front, because, I mean, you have to understand whether they really believe in the case or not, or they're just trying to get the payment for you. Because I'll give you an example. In the case where they came through the door, right? It wasn't a lot of money in the end, and maybe it should have been more. You have a good point. I mean, sometimes you got to trade off between a bird in the hand versus two in the bush.
Mm-hmm.
But I was paid out of the settlement.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't charge the client money up front for that case. Now, there are cases where I do charge a client up front, and I'm going to take a portion of the settlement. Usually that's in the realm of like employment law.
Okay.
Going against the employer. Usually especially if the employer is like the state of Connecticut.
Right.
Or city of New Haven or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time, if it's a civil rights case, it should be a contingency fee. Now, a lawyer might not think it's valuable enough to take it only on the promise of money if you succeed. And a lot of lawyers don't do civil rights cases at all.
Good point.
Because the government has a lot of defenses that a private person like you and me doesn't have, like qualified immunity.
We
talk about qualified immunity all the time.
Right. Here's another area that you get discriminated against, and you want to bring a case against someone. Do you still need to bring the EEOC in to get clearance from the EEOC before you can bring that case forward?
In certain types of cases, like Americans with Disabilities Act, Title VII, Civil Rights Act of 1964, so racial discrimination in employment.
Right.
Yeah, or sex discrimination in employment. Yeah, you need to bring a claim.
Do you need
EEOC.
to, or you have to? I mean,
you need to.
Well,
it's not optional. It's mandatory.
It's mandatory, right? So you have to bring the EEOC in. Now, here's a problem with that, and the reason why I'm really highlighting this here. You go in front of the EEOC on a racial discrimination issue. Chances are you're in front, and obviously you bring a racial discrimination, you're a person of color, you're black. You're standing or sitting in front of someone who's white, who don't have the experiences that you have. So how fast is that case going to go forward? What percentages of those cases?
The interesting thing about that is in Connecticut, we have our own EEOC of Connecticut law and Connecticut state government called CHRO. And the CHRO has an agreement with the EEOC that the CHRO handles the EEOC claims for Connecticut. If you bring a claim to CHRO instead of to EEOC, they'll file it with EEOC.
Right.
And when it's time to take it out of CHRO, they'll take it out of EEOC too, so you can go to court. But
now, hold on one second before we go forward. The CHRO is Commission on Human Rights Organization.
Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities.
Okay, now, Commission on Human Rights and Opportunities you're saying that you can go to them first.
You should go to them.
You should go to them first.
Yeah.
Now, what percentage do they
They're
have?
more diverse.
Okay, they're more diverse.
I'm not going to say that you're guaranteed you're going to have a white or a black investigator.
Right.
But for example, the executive director is a black woman, so is a deputy, and a large number
now,
of
is this part of
investigators.
that commission? Is it part of the state of Connecticut?
It is.
Okay, it's also part of the state of Connecticut.
So we can go and complain to Lamont about it.
Right.
It's a part of our state.
Okay.
Democrat. Now, the thing about the CHRO is you get to it, you can go through their process, or if 6 months has passed from when you go there and you're not satisfied with their process, you can take the case out and go to court.
Okay. You could take it out without going to the EEOC?
As long as enough time has passed from when you filed it,
Yeah.
you can tell the CHRO, you know what, CHRO, thank you for your interest, but I'm going to go to court and prove my case in court. And they will help you take it out of CHRO and EEOC, and it'll be ready to go for court. Now, the thing is you want to have a lawyer at that point.
Exactly.
Because when the CHRO and EEOC give you that notice, you have 90 days to go to court, and then you can't bring a case anymore. And if the CHRO has ruled against you, then you can't just go to court. So you have to do it before they've actually finished their whole process. But usually they'll tell you, like, hey, we're going to be ruling against you, so if you want to go to court, ask to go to court now, and they'll let you go, and they won't rule against you even. Like, they're very, like, CHRO is trying to help civil rights in Connecticut. I will say that. Do I have problems with them? I have 2 or 3 cases where I'm suing them right now. Trust me, I can get into that. We don't have to get into that. But
you suing CHRO?
For the person, yeah, I'm suing them.
Wow.
I represent one of their former deputy directors.
Oh,
who's
wow.
suing the current director and
wow.
director. Yeah, that's a really spicy one.
That's a real spicy one.
I'm suing them on behalf of a woman who helps people file cases there who's not an attorney. Now, EEOC lets you do that.
Right.
CHRO last year all of a sudden said, no, you have to be an attorney. What? So she got me to help with her case against CHRO, and actually CHRO now is changing their mind. So we're that one's gonna settle. So we think we're okay on that.
They're like, oh,
They came to the light.
They were like, who did you call?
Yeah.
No. You can't do that.
No. We said no, you can't do that.
Right.
So do I have my issues with them at times? Yes, but in the struggle for civil rights, there's always been debates and differences of opinion, different ways of trying to change things inside versus outside,
right?
Government versus society. And the CHRO is a part of our government in Connecticut dedicated to civil rights. So I think we should go vote tomorrow, and I think we should put the current people back in for another 4 years. I've been vocal about that. I'm not afraid to say that. But a big part of that is we don't want these civil rights institutions in our government that were hard fought to be stripped back, cut back, and turned into what we have at the federal level with the EEOC, where it doesn't consider people's rights and their civil rights and the right against discrimination. So,
the EEOC, I had a problem with them ever since way back when Clarence Thomas was running that organization. And his policies, oh my God, you're a person of color. Here it is. He so hates himself. I mean, who knows what the hell is really on this man's real mind? Yeah. But
it's very much something that depends a lot on the national situation and the national administration. So I think the EEOC right now under President Biden actually is a little bit better than it was under President Trump. And it's a similar thing down at the local level, what you'll see. But yeah, that's how you bring a lot of discrimination cases. But a lot of cases you also don't need to go to the EEOC or CHRO. For example, police brutality.
Oh, okay.
So the police kill somebody on the street. You don't need to go to EEOC.
But what if they mishandle you, like body slamming you and it's caught on camera or such? Well, does that need to go through the EEOC or the CHRO?
Well, there's certain claims never need to go anywhere. You can go straight to court with. And it's a law that was passed after the Civil War called Section 1983.
After the Civil War?
It was passed after the Civil War. It was meant to help enforce the rights that were created after the Civil War. And what it says is, and it's obviously been a broken document for many years of our history, but what it says is now is if there's been a violation of the Constitution of the United States, you can sue against the person who violated your constitutional rights. That's Section 1983. And if you prove a violation, you can get attorney's fees. That's Section 1988. But that law is the basis of lawsuits against the police for excessive force, police brutality, tasing, beating people up, shooting. It's also the basis, for example, in a wrongful conviction case of a lawsuit saying that they framed you of a crime. They violated your due process rights. They took away your right to a fair trial. They violated Brady, withheld exculpatory evidence. They falsified evidence and testimony in violation of due process.
Well, you're saying all of this great stuff, and then we have like the case we were discussing earlier, where you have.
So in 1983, you don't have to go to CHRO or EEOC, but the defense, the police, the state have the defense of qualified immunity. And so that's where a lot of things need to change because qualified immunity is not in Section 1983. When they passed it after the Civil War, they didn't say, also qualified immunity. They said if there's a constitutional rights violation, you can sue.
So are they making a policy?
It's from the courts.
Yeah, so it's a court policy.
It's a court policy. Qualified immunity is a court policy. But it doesn't.
So it's something that we could get rid of without even going after changing a law because it's a policy.
You would need either to change the law through Congress. Good luck with that.
Wait a minute. If it's a policy, do you need it? You got to change the law?
You don't need to, but if you don't change the law, you need to change the judges. Because the current Supreme Court is very much in support of qualified immunity as a policy.
Right.
And they enforce it very strongly. I mean, they've created a lot of exceptions. And as a lawyer, you basically try to get it in through the exception. But it's still very strong. It's very, very strong. And that's another big difference. I mean, the Democrat and the Republican justices,
We have a big, big, big day tomorrow.
Big day.
Not just here.
That'd be the last time the vote actually does count.
Isn't that something? And that is so scary that's what we have to put on the table. Yeah. Do you see anything out there or anyone who's running for office that you think might be in an obstructionist to what you do in regards to getting time reduced?
I got to give credit where credit is deserved. The last 2 years, 575 years of time off of people's prison sentences.
Big man.
There have been a lot of other lawyers who have also gotten time off of sentences in the last 2 years that in the 10 years before that.
But hold on. Right now, you're leading the crusade here.
You could say that.
I can say that. I mean, I read an article that. Okay. I read an article that. Okay. I read an article here that said that you rolled out a big blue across the street. Yeah, I'm talking about Yale University. You said, hey, I'm making this thing done.
We're going to do
this. You get it done.
We're going to do this. So, but what I'm trying to say is in the last 2 years, we've had more success than maybe there has been in the last 10 years. And so what's the difference here that's leading to this success? I mean, you could say it's just me, and I'm not going to disagree because I love me. But I believe a big reason for the success is, one, the parole board of pardon and parole is led by Chairperson Carlton Giles, as well as the other members of the parole board serving with him, who have granted relief to dozens of my clients and other individuals who are deserving of a second chance. Really, they made second chance not just a slogan, like another buzzword, another thing we're gonna say. They actually put
another bumper sticker.
They put their names and their professional reputations and their political reputations on the line to make second chances a real thing in our society. And then there have been some very wise and compassionate, empathetic judges who have made some very smart, compassionate, wise decisions and those judges, I think, are also following the policy and the vision that the governor has put forward of second chance society. And so I'm voting for the governor. No secret there, no surprise there tomorrow. And I'm very worried seeing the commercials, the television ads on my screen from the other candidate I'm not even going to say his name.
Right.
The other candidate saying that our governor, our wise, compassionate, intelligent, effective governor, puts criminals over the victims.
So crazy.
And says that he puts criminals over everyone else. And he puts criminals over police officers. I have officer clients. I have police officers who have testified in my hearings, and correctional officers. I have correctional officer clients. Officers know that people can change their lives.
Right.
They know that a person can be rehabilitated, especially here in Connecticut.
But when you look at this guy who's leached off of payday loans,
and his client list since he ran last time include the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, which is murdering journalists, supporting terrorism, and Russian war in Ukraine.
What exactly does this guy do?
He has, in my view, never contributed anything that's remarkable or worthwhile to our state. He has done everything that he has done has been obviously calculated to advance his own selfish agenda and what he wants people to give to him. I'm very concerned that the whole reason he's trying to get in there, the off chance that he might get in there, is to take some money from the state and somehow put it in his own bank account or some other, company or people to steal from us under our noses.
Well, isn't that the current Republican playbook? Whatever you get involved in, how much can you jack off? One for the cause, 20 for you.
He's running now, and this is the thing. You have to look at the whole ballot tomorrow, because you got governor and lieutenant governor, and I'm very clear about why I support Governor Lamont and everything that he's done for real people, real families, and real communities across the state of Connecticut. But then you look down ballot, Secretary of the State. That's the chief election officer for the state. Republicans have a man, Dominic Rapini, running for that office.
Dominic,
who believes that Trump won the election,
right?
And that's the person who they would put in charge of our election. So when you vote 2 years from now, and he's counting the vote, and he doesn't like the way that the votes come out, he's not going to listen. He's not going to let the right person come into office because he has his own opinion.
What's really
dangerous?
Yeah. What's really amazing to me is, you hear these people making the statement, this is not who we are. This is not who we are as Americans. This is not who we are.
Tomorrow's the day to prove it.
Thank you.
If that's what you want to say, show it.
Show it. If this is not who we are,
polls tomorrow.
If this is not who we are, we'll find out, because 74 million Americans say this is who we are.
And we know, by the way, who votes and who doesn't vote.
Right.
So in history books, we will look back and we will see you didn't vote when it came down to the most important times of our lives here. You need to get your ass out there and vote tomorrow, no matter what it takes.
I want to ride on this here for a little bit, because what really kills me is this is not who we are. It's just such a sweet slogan.
I wish.
It's a paper tiger. It has no teeth. I mean, come on. This is not who we are.
It's
okay.
It's really like,
now what are we when 74 million Americans say, guess what? I'm going to vote for someone who's going to create an insurrection against the United States of America, then turn around and lie for the last almost 2 years. 2 years now. Oh, guess what? It was stolen from me. I didn't lose. I didn't. Just keep riding it. And then you have all of these other people in power in elected positions who are just following that same mantra of, I don't know. Or you see people running for office right now who say, it depends. I don't know if I'm going to concede. It just depends on what the outcome is and all of that crazy stuff. I mean, come on. And this is not who we are? You guys just been waiting for the opportunity to do it.
We're in a very, very bad situation right now.
Very tight space.
We need to wake up.
Yes.
I mean, look, it's the day before the election. You come to me the day after the election, and there's a million things that we can do other than voting to try and save our country. There is, and you should be doing them. We should be getting involved. We should be the ones running, let alone the ones voting. But tomorrow, what we can do is vote. And it's really going to be I think it's one of our last chances to keep voting in the
I really
future.
feel that way. I really do feel that way. I mean, we came so close 2 years ago, just as much as 24 months ago. We came so close.
January
to
6th,
just losing
2021 was not a long time ago.
No, it wasn't. But
It was
just
not.
last year, December, 2020, November, we literally stared down the end of democracy. I thank God that we got past it. Look, I remember in 2015, I said, you guys let this guy get anywhere near that White House. Oh, I want to tell you, it's going to be pure hell to get him out.
Now we got to see if hopefully he gets arrested.
Well, oh my God, speaking of that,
we're getting slim for that.
We can definitely get into that. That's another thing. It's like, I don't know about Merrick Garland. I'm like, oh gosh. I go through all these up and down emotions about this guy. He's steady hand. Yeah, this roller coaster ride with this guy. It's like on one hand, I want to see someone with a steady hand or someone who don't just jump to the first thing that comes in.
Steady hand on a boat that's on fire, though.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, where are these charges? Why are we? What's the holdup? Why are we delaying? Like, I'm trying to wrap my hand around this, and I just can't.
But I think most likely, I believe the governor is going to win tomorrow. I'm very positive about that. I hope that Johanna Hayes holds up.
I really do. Absolutely.
Very important national implications there.
Yes.
And the whole Democratic ticket.
But they just recently gerrymandered the hell out of that. I know it was gerrymandered in the first place.
It's a competitive district.
It's a highly because
district.
You're looking at it includes Tolland, Torrington, all that areas, the Waterbury. But Waterbury is a heavy population.
New Britain.
But yeah, exactly. But Bristol, I think, is also involved in it. Yeah, Bristol is part of it.
Thing.
How all of this workaround is in this district? I don't even get it. All the way back into Powder Hamden, isn't it?
Well, I'm always a big believer in shuffling the deck and changing things around, but the people in charge, they want to keep it mostly the same. So the districts have been largely the same for the last 30, 40 years, really.
Yeah.
They haven't really. The fifth one is kind of like the Frankenstein because they merged two there, and then now they're trying to keep it. They keep it Democrat, but not too Democrat, so they're gonna add a little bit of this, a little that, take a little out of that.
Well, look, when you look, we lost in the 2010 census. We lost a seat.
Right.
Was it 2010 or 2000?
2000.
2000. Yeah, one of them. We lost a seat. We used to have 8 seats. Now we're down to 7.
Well, we're down to 5 seats. 7 votes in the electoral.
Exactly. 7 votes in the electoral.
Yeah.
Well, we have 5 congressional seats.
5 congressional seats.
Yes, plus the 2.
Yeah,
plus the 2 senators. Yeah. Exactly. 5 congressional seats. We used to have 6.
Yeah.
I
love voting because
I was
born on election day. My birthday is tomorrow, so.
Which we're gonna party like rock stars tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah, at barbecue, Bear's Smokehouse Barbecue on James Street in New Haven, 5:30. Anyone who wants to come on down.
Anyone who wants to come.
But there's no free food or anything.
There you go. You're just partying with Alex. There you go.
Bring happy fun.
You know what? Just to clear my head, I probably will not probably. I'm gonna show up.
You better.
I am.
You just committed to it online.
There you go, live. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna show up. I'm gonna show up and hang out. Oh no, I'm gonna be right there. Okay, great people. Attorney Alex Taubes. I mean, you really and truly. I love having you in here. You touch base. You are now a leader of the pack of getting prison sentences reduction in full play. You have yanked off over 570, 575 years?
575 years now we're looking at.
575 years in 2.5 years.
On Wednesday, day after tomorrow.
And how many years is that? That's potentially enough.
Could be, I don't remember exactly how many we got, but it could be another like 8 or 10 or more.
Wow. Yeah. And the crazy thing is, man, well, the only people who are mad at you doing your thing, the only people I could really think of are the people who run the prisons and they get money on the side.
No, it's not something everybody likes.
Right.
And I'm sensitive to that. I understand that. First of all, the victim's family is not always in favor of what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
and I recognize that. And actually, I support them having input
Mm-hmm.
in the process and being heard, because so
Mhm.
often they're not heard
Right.
at all.
Right.
And I recognize that often it's like reopening an old wound for them to have these proceedings come forward where the sentence they were told
Mm-hmm.
was going to the murderer or the killer of their loved one
Mhm.
is now being revisited.
Mm.
So they feel like something like a band-aid has been ripped off. So I'm sensitive to that. Not everyone is going to support everything that I do, but if you know, more and more people have had someone in their family
Mm-hmm.
or someone who they know and love who's been on the other side, who's been the perpetrator of something that's really
Right.
terrible.
Right.
And when that happens, you want to make sure that all the mitigating
So
circumstances
true.
are taken into account about that
So
individual
true.
as well. And so it's not always a dichotomy. A lot of times, the people who have perpetrated crimes are also the victims of crimes
Mm-hmm.
themselves. So I think it's a service that needs to be done, and more lawyers should do it as well. I tell other lawyers to take up these kinds of cases. I shouldn't be the only one doing them. And hopefully,
That's what made you
know,
so good, man.
and hopefully we have more people getting out and getting the services and supports they need to really succeed in society, like my former clients turned paralegals who now are doing such great work for me and helping other people.
My man Alex Taubes, I thank you so much for coming in here and hanging out with me. The day before his birthday, the day before the election,
Shout out to my baby who's, I'm not helping put him to sleep, and to my wife who's putting him to sleep.
shout outs to the family. I'll see you guys in the neighborhood, you know what I mean? But I'm definitely gonna see you tomorrow evening at your birthday party. I'm not even gonna ask you how old you're gonna be, man. Just do you.
34 years old.
34 years old. Young.
What?
You're young. Enjoy, dog. Enjoy it.
Wow.
All right, good people. Take us out there.